All right, let's go. It can't get any worse than this. No! Please! Go! Right. Let's try this. Ah! Ugh. Oh! Ah! Ah! Oh! I've got to get out of here.
So, I have two questions for you. Do you like survival games like Subnautica? Yeah? Well, how about the setting of Half-Life? I think you see where this is going. No? Well, if your answer to both of these questions was yes, you should try Abiotic Factor, the first game brave enough to answer the provocative question of what it would be like in the shoes of one of the scientists at Black Mesa during the Resonance Cascade disaster. I mean, technically that's already what happens in Half-Life, but imagine you didn't have an HAV suit or guns. And once you do get a gun... Oh boy. This is gonna be an experience, isn't it? So instead you arm yourself with office supplies and build barricades out of cubicle walls and furniture as you navigate a sprawling research facility hoping to find a way out. And all that in jolly cooperation. Yes, indeed, you can face the horrors of neighboring antiverses with up to 5 colleagues. If that sounds like a fun time to you, go play Abiotic Factor right now. If you're still unconvinced, stick around, though be warned, there will be spoilers from this point on. Not that I could spoil everything in one video given the sheer amount of content in this game. At multiple points, as we reached some sort of milestone, we thought the game would run out of steam soon, only to be proven utterly wrong right after. Several hours into the game, we were still discovering new areas, unlocking new equipment and upgrades, and encountering new life forms. Not always to our benefit, mind you. But let's not rush too far ahead. Let me paint a picture for you. We are stuck in an underground research facility with nothing but the clothes on our backs and $5 in our pocket, while being stalked by aliens from another dimension. What, not scary enough for you? Oh yeah, forgot to mention. It's Australian dollars!
Ready for your first day?
Crikey, we're in trouble now, mate. So we grab a desk leg, make armor out of duct tape and brochures, and get the better of the aliens.
I perceive a distinct lack of snacks.
Oh, vending machines can take care of that, and we can drink from the water coolers. Until they run out, that is, and before you ask, no, the plumbing doesn't work. Even though the toilet's still flush. Speaking of... We can sleep on the couches for the time being, but as long as we're stuck here, we might as well make ourselves more comfortable. That's better. Man, there's only so many cheezels one can stomach, but what else is there to eat? Huh. I've gotta say, this doesn't look too appetizing. And now I have radiation sickness. Now that's what I'm talking about. Add a little salt, the whole shaker in fact. As we acquire new resources, we also find better solutions to these challenges. Instead of a table leg, we use more sophisticated weapons like a crossbow, and a knife taped to a lampstand. Instead of relying on the unstable electrical network, we use batteries to keep our base going. And instead of using a crummy old communal toilet, we use a bucket. So we can fertilize our crops. Wait, what are we doing here again? The devs cited Valheim as their main inspiration for the survival part of the game, but I think in a lot of ways Subnautica is a better comparison. Because just like in Subnautica, we have an actual mission to complete. We need to escape the Gate Cascade facility, bypassing the various obstacles in our way, such as locked doors, aliens, locked doors, broken down equipment, locked doors, missing components, locked doors. Really, there's just a lot of locked doors. Actually, some of these aren't exactly locked, they just open from the other side. Which makes this game an official Souls-like. The setting is nothing like Subnautica though, and this is where the Half-Life comparison comes into play. Let's see, underground research station, interdimensional disaster, aliens, even the title is a science word. Case closed. There are areas that are referenced pretty much beat for beat, like the Evangelion lift and this flooded room. And as for the aliens, they also bear a striking resemblance to the intruders of Black Mesa. You've got your classic crab squids, barnacles, vortigons. Now, I don't know which one this is supposed to be. The bull squid? Maybe the hound eye? Whoa! But don't think referencing Half-Life is the only thing the game does, because it quickly starts introducing new concepts, and a lot of them at that. The facility's layout itself is not randomly generated. It's a pre-made map, again, just like Subnautica's Planet 4546b. Now, I've got nothing against randomly generated environments, but you do miss out on having actual compelling level design like this. In a game like Valheim, exploration means traversing a large open environment in order to find points of interest. Like a dungeon, for example. The Gate Cascade facility, on the other hand, is the dungeon. It's sprawling, so it's easy to get lost between all the offices, labs and maintenance rooms, especially during night hours when the lights go out and all you have to find your way is the pale shine of the flashlight. And sometimes this red light, although I don't know what's up with that. Good evening. But once you get a feel for the layout, it gets a lot easier to navigate. It helps that the facility is designed like an actual, functional building with a mostly logical arrangement. Like here's the pool, so of course the locker room is right next to it, along with the gym. This logic extends to the resources you find in these areas. Need salt? Or like an entire fridge? That's in the kitchen. Staplers? Search the offices. Night essence? Night essence? What the hell is that? Finding new resources is always exciting. There's no end to the tech you can unlock, including weapons, armor, gadgets, kitchen appliances. The quality of life upgrades tend towards the top of that list. The one that lets you use crafting materials directly from nearby containers is already neat, but the auto deposit pad is incredible. It gets rid of so much pointless inventory management. Oh, what I would have given for something like this in Subnautica. The one upgrade I would like to see added would be a way to craft the subcomponents of an item directly from the main recipe. Not a big deal early on, but later recipes can be pretty complicated, and this feels like it would be an appropriate upgrade. The other elements evolve in the same way. At first, the only way to get water is from limited sources around the building. But between cooking, drinking and watering the plantations, having to go look for water with bottle in hand is such a drag. So let's just grab the whole water cooler. Let's get them all, in fact. Then you find a way to purify dirty water, and all the coolers you hoarded stare at you like, "None of us, even dying of thirst, would ever drink this water. This is sacred." 38 million decaliters. Wait, this is only 4.5 liters of water? This is like a 5-gallon jug. How is it only 4.5 liters? Well, that's disappointing. Anyway, every time you find new materials, there is something to upgrade with them. Look at my base defenses. The spinning blades may be crude, but now they are complemented by electronic countermeasures. Excuse the cable management. Let me clean that right up. Much better. The weapons are the most fun part of this, since they have such a tangible impact on the gameplay. For a survival game, the combat system works surprisingly well. There's a nice variety of enemies who all have their own unique attacks and abilities, and in turn you get a whole heap of weapons and gadgets to fight back. And you'll want to keep changing your arsenal up, because different enemies have different resistances and weaknesses. It's worth experimenting, even if that means using a weapon you have low skill in. This aspect of the game benefits a lot from multiplayer, as you get to complement each other's loadouts. Playing this game with 2 players, we ended up with completely different gear, and it happened completely naturally. There were still weapon types left neither of us invested in, though that can be chalked up to the fact that some of them are straight up no good. Heavy weapons, for example, feel very slow and clunky, which is appropriate, but I'd expect them to deal a lot more damage in return, considering you need to unlock them first by pumping some serious iron. Now, fire weapons, on the other hand, are a bit too effective. They have a tendency to set everything on fire, besides the enemy of course. Actually, this is a good place for an intermission before I really get into it. If you're convinced by what you've seen so far, I'd encourage you to
leave this place and never return.
Because we're about to get a bit more spoilery. I'm also about to give some constructive feedback, and I wouldn't want that to ruin your first impression. Ready? Here we go. So while I did genuinely enjoy the combat, there are various glitches and shortcomings that leave it feeling a bit jankier than I'd like. The main glitch you'll see is enemy attacks becoming disconnected from their animations. Melee attack hitboxes will follow you, while the animation is stuck in its initial direction. Well, it's either that, or maybe the game only checks for distance with melee attacks. You can see it with this same enemy. If I move back instead of to the side, the attack will miss. Then ranged attacks also follow the target, even if the enemy isn't looking at it. Enemies will even shoot through their own bodies to attack you. Multiplayer seems to exacerbate the issue, or at least make it more apparent. It's particularly egregious with these army bots, since their backpacks are their weak points. This one is targeting my colleague, so I think I'm safe to shoot it from the back. Then this happens. And here, I don't even know what's happening here. It's like the bot is hitting itself. Maybe as the grenade spawns in front of it, it immediately collides with the wall. Attacks will also go through even if the animation is interrupted. It's like their MMO abilities. Attacks are interrupted by the enemy dying, so flinching should work the same, right? Flinching interrupts grenade throws, but not regular attacks. How does that happen? I'm not familiar with the inner workings of 3D engines, unfortunately. In GameMaker, though, I use a state machine to solve this problem. 2 of them in fact, one embedded into the other. This way, higher priority states, such as flinching or death, always interrupt free actions like movement or abilities. But let's get back to the game that's actually complete. Enemies always target their closest opponent, no matter what. That isn't a glitch, but it does make enemies way too predictable and exploitable, especially when infighting happens. As long as I keep my distance, the bot will never retarget to me, no matter what I do to it. Check out this minigun enemy. I make him rev up his gun, then run to cover. Now my colleague can attack him to his heart's content, because I'm still the one that's closer. Some of this could be fixed by implementing a cooldown on enemy target switching. That's what helped make Night Rain's combat feel more consistent than Elden Ring's too. Enemy changes have been announced for summer of this year, so fingers crossed. Another issue that contributes to the jankiness is the damage marker. You would expect the damage marker to point towards the enemy that hit you, but that's not how it works in this game. The marker shows you where the attack happened. So if an enemy is shooting at you from the front, it shows you where the projectile hits you instead of pointing towards the enemy. This already makes it difficult to orient yourself in battle, but it gets worse. Look at what happens when I move. The markers now point behind me, where the attacks happened, even though the enemy is right in front of me. So the markers can even move, which is how it should work, they just follow the wrong target, rendering them completely useless. These problems make an otherwise good combat system feel a little bit messy, but it's still one of the better survival game combat systems out there. Again, the sheer abundance of content helps out a lot here, especially when the game veers away from classic enemy types and introduces more unique content. Personally, I got a lot of mileage out of sneak attacks. Man, if only one of these guys thought to turn around. Throwing weapons are also kind of busted. Grenades are one thing, but check out my Olympic level performance here.
Impressive.
Way more accurate than a measly gun, and I'm just raking in the throwing XP to boot. It's a mystery to me how they came up with these XP multipliers. The laser pistol is probably my most used weapon, but my accuracy skill is still atrocious. That's because the pistol only gives 1 XP per shot. At least my agriculture skill is maxed out, which makes sense since I picked the botanist specialization at the beginning of the game. Wait, no I didn't. My colleague did. Farming just gives you so much XP that we both maxed it out before either of us even unlocked sniper rifles in accuracy. Well, to be honest, your specialization only gives you a couple of skill levels, and higher levels require much more XP, meaning it doesn't make much difference in the long run. I guess it's tough to balance because there are skills every player will use, so those would have to be slowed down compared to the more specialized ones. Otherwise, everyone would max out crafting first. Crafting XP is earned from crafting, and also the research minigame where you guess what each component of a recipe is. Besides that, I don't really see what the point of this minigame is. Especially when there is only one possible answer anyway. Is the intention to just direct your attention to the new recipes? And in multiplayer, each of you have to unlock and research the recipes separately, or press this icon to share them one by one. But you don't even know which ones the others might be missing. You can turn the research minigame off in the sandbox settings, and yeah, if I ever played the game again, that's probably what I'd do. As for sharing the recipes though, you do get a dedicated upgrade for that. Once again, the quality of life upgrades are some of the best rewards in the game, and crafting is plenty convenient as is. Cooking, on the other hand, is a bit of a chore. See, you don't craft food directly from a cooking station, instead you have to assemble the ingredients manually, which means hunting down the ingredients one by one, placing them on your hotbar, selecting them and throwing them into the pot, which you also have to fill with water beforehand. This is all fine the first couple of times, but I was hoping for some sort of upgrade to this system, given the amount of cooking you have to do over the course of the game. The upgrades I appreciate the most are the ones that let you streamline certain mechanics once you've proven your mastery over them, like streamlining inventory management. So usually the game delivers, just not with cooking. By the way, you can't experiment with the ingredients either. There are pre-made soup recipes you have to follow, and I'm pointing this out because you have to dig them up from the journal every time you want to look at them. And the journal itself is ugly, and difficult to navigate unfortunately. A weird blemish on an otherwise decent UI. Getting anywhere takes multiple clicks, whether that's to check your soup recipes, your maps or your registry. When you unlock a page in your journal, an alert pops up prompting you to press J. Then you press it and your main journal page comes up like, what, did you expect me to look it up for you? My job is to tell you you've got new entries. I even put markers by these icons that don't even look like they belong in the same UI. The rest is up to you, my guy. Also, what happened to the maps? The first couple you find look like actual maps you would find for buildings, but the later ones are just screenshots of the building's model. Did they get bored of tracing over the screenshots or what? It looks like somebody started to work on the manufacturing map but gave up halfway. In fact, the first map you find that I just praised is faulty as well. It points to Manufacturing East, even though that's not even in the game. This route actually takes you to the labs. You know what happened? I think they were drawing these maps as they were still finalizing the layout. Then, while the map guy was working on manufacturing, the boss just walked in, and he's like, okay, so we moved the storage room over here, and the guy just blew up like, you know what? There you go, it's done! It's got a bunch of gray squares, it doesn't even face north, but it's done! It's yours! Whatever, I quit! I wanna do real art. The map for the first area is also broken down into levels, so it's much easier to read than the amorphous blobs you get later on. I can appreciate the challenge of navigating the facility without an automap, but I also think it would make for a cool upgrade. Same for Subnautica, by the way. The markers on your head-up display are very similar to the ones in Subnautica, and I wish they copied the ability to toggle them individually, instead of just having whatever these options are.
I should probably locate a restroom.
There are different approaches to implementing survival mechanics in a game. I think Valheim does a good job with its mechanics. You don't have to eat and sleep constantly, but you get a substantial bonus if you do. So you'll want to eat, and eat high quality food at that if you're planning to go somewhere dangerous. If you're just sitting around at your base, there's no pressure, you'll survive without food or rest. Subnautica's oxygen system is one of the more unique ones and is also integral to the game's setting. At first you can only go for shallow dives, but then you extend your meter with an oxygen tank, so now you can go deeper. And once you get vehicles, they serve as mobile oxygen deposits, so now there's an additional loop to the exploration. Abiotic Factor went with simple survival meters, and 4 of them at that. It gets easier to take care of them as you get new tech, and you find more long-term solutions, in particular for hunger and thirst. But even though you're encouraged to make longer and longer excursions, you can't really extend your survival meters. Upgrades let you take care of your needs faster, like a more comfortable bed will make you sleep faster. I'm not the world's biggest fan of these minigames, but marginally speeding them up is not that much of a prize, honestly. And the upgraded toilet doesn't even let you collect your feces. That's a pretty bad trade-off, I mean that's what I craft grenades with. Well, I guess some people might be okay with that. I think higher tier items should extend your survival meters instead of just filling them faster. The whole point is that you get to do more exploration between breaks, and you get less busy work. That's why you get an extended inventory, more durable weapons, and vehicles for mobile storage. So just extend that logic to the survival mechanics. But since I brought up vehicles, I was quite happy to see them appear, and surprised to see multiple types too. The thing is, I used them a lot in the early game, but kind of fell out of habit later on. For one, the facility is not really built around vehicles. There are lots of tight spaces and sharp turns, so you have to slow down constantly and maneuver carefully. Unlike real forklifts, these can only turn in a wide angle, so you'll have to pick your battles. At worst, you get stuck, and you have to recover the vehicle, which is done by going all the way back to the vehicle's original spawn point. The thing is though, there is no way to tell which vehicle belongs to which spawn point. You can't mark the vehicles. The one time all this paint could have come in handy. Okay, so small corridors are out of the question, as are the stairways. Luckily, we have these convenient cargo lifts around. But see, that's a bit of a toss-up. I was already suspicious when I saw my car sink into the platform. Slowly. Cunningly. Menacingly. But that didn't ease the pain of betrayal I felt when it straight up teleported out of the lift. Oh, no, not this time. See, it's still here at least. I'm talking about this one. Wanna guess where it went? Well, I don't know either. It's apparently under the lift and thus out of bounds. So we go all the way back to the spawn point. Programming moving platforms can be, difficult. And I guess combining them with vehicles was one step too far. I think the clue to solving it is the way the vehicles sink into the platforms. Their physics are pretty wonky to begin with. And I swear it's not my driving. It's like they have no weight, so they never really stick to the ground, and the slightest bump in the road sends them flying. Even just getting down a slope can be a challenge. Damn. Okay, that may be my fault. Let's try a little slower. How about going up then? Man, this is me going full speed, by the way. You wanna see something real funny though? If you get in a vehicle while it's at an angle, the camera is tilted in that position until you get out. Why? Anyway, the forklifts got nothing on the SUV. They're so fast, they barely even touch the ground at top speed. At the same time, they are very slow to turn, which is a pretty unfortunate combination. Oh boy, God truly gives his funniest battles to his silliest clowns.
Wait, that's a freaking bat! Stay away from me, you psycho!
Do a barrel roll!
Alright, let me drive as carefully as I possibly can. This is impossible. Whoa. Oh, wait, no, come on! I can drive. Tell them! Please, just tell them I can drive! Tell them, please!
A crown for king.
Get back here. Come on, what are you afraid of? Just get in. Get in the car! Oh, no! Vehicles also don't interact with trams and portals, so if two areas are connected by either of these, well, then you're going on foot. The final nail in their coffin was when we unlocked buildable portals. At that stage, there is really no point in using them anymore, which is a shame. I appreciate not being forced to use them, but I like how they remain a core mechanic in Valheim and Subnautica. The solution here could be a buildable vehicle spawner, which would let you summon any of your unlocked vehicles. Of course, I'd also appreciate it if the vehicles themselves were a bit heavier and easier to maneuver.
But actually,
Okay, enough fooling around. We don't need to shake things up ourselves anyway. The game has plenty of ways to do it for us. Base invasions, for example, feel a lot like the ones in Valheim. These sound like a great idea in theory and a good excuse to actually build base defenses, but in Valheim I didn't exactly love them. My problem there was that the enemies can destroy your elaborate buildings and you have to painstakingly rebuild every single piece. Blocking off enemy spawns with fireplaces is also a bit of a pain. Your base being destroyed in Abiotic Factor is much less of a concern, since furniture doesn't get destroyed, just packaged. And spawns are blocked by crafting benches, and these are what get targeted by attacks, so you build your defenses around them. So far so good. If you place multiple benches near each other though, this gets thrown out the window, as enemies may spawn right next to one to attack the other. So just upgrade your bench to block invasions. Great idea, but that only works for one invasion type, and the weakest one at that. The best thing to do is to just find an area that you can cover with one crafting bench and build your base there, with defenses at the edge of the home buff. That way the invasions work as intended, which means they're good, right? Kinda. Abiotic Factor in general does a good job of escalating difficulty as the game progresses. New enemy types you encounter may just be your next guess when you go home. But older invasion types still happen with enemies you obliterate with your current equipment. So invasions range in difficulty from ones that you can straight up ignore to kind of annoying. At the beginning of the game, when you don't expect them, they are a great way to shake things up. The facility is pitch dark in the night, then the security bots wake up, so you retreat back to your base, the only reasonably safe area you know. But guess what? It's getting invaded. Spooky. Then during the endgame, the best way to deal with it is to just ignore it and go explore in an area where you have no crafting benches, and the invasion will straight up not happen. So while I find them less annoying than in Valheim, I still don't love the invasions here. Maybe if they had more substantial rewards, the player would have more of a reason to care. The other mechanic that will throw a wrench in your plans is weather events. The game takes place indoors, so these are all contextualized appropriately. Radiation leaks, ventilation failures but in orange. You deal with these by using proper protective equipment, so if you have a spore infestation, you put on a mask. If you don't have a mask on hand, well, then sucks to be you. Alternatively, you just go to the place where you can turn the event off, and you turn it off. I'm mostly confused here because I don't know what the intention was. Weather events are either so insignificant that you can safely ignore them, or so disruptive that you're forced to do something about them, except sometimes you can't. If you haven't found the off button, or there is no way to mitigate the effect, you're forced to suffer through it no matter what. Either way, you're not left with a lot of options. I think a good rule of thumb for survival games is that you should be able to first mitigate the effects of these challenges, then bypass them outright once you've proven your mastery over them. Like I've said with the maps. That's also in line with the science theme of the game. When radiation leaks happen at first, you look for an HEV, I mean a hazmat suit. Then eventually you find the off button. But doesn't that feel a bit unfinished? What's even the lore behind just having a button to temporarily halt the leak? Is it the AZ5 button? I'd prefer if you could eventually fix the generator outright so it's not a factor anymore. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, that's exactly what happens in Subnautica. I guess I'm just a bit salty since I seem to have legendarily bad luck with the events. They kept happening when we were discovering new areas and they are usually very visually disruptive. And the one that keeps happening to me is the stupid spores when I know there are more interesting, even esoteric ones. I guess the quantity of content kind of backfired for me. Okay, let me explain that. Half-Life has a largely straightforward setting that you can easily grasp just by observing the events in the game. The three factions, the staff at Black Mesa, the aliens and the military, can be identified by aesthetics alone, and their dynamics are made evident by their behavior. That's not to say the story is simplistic, but you can understand the gist of it just by looking at what's happening around you. In Abiotic Factor, the first enemies you meet are the aliens, and the first antiverse you explore is the Black Mesa Zen chapter inspired one. When you first enter, a tooltip shows you that your jetpack is disabled, and that gave me the impression that there would be more to explore here once that restriction was removed, just like Zen is a significant portion of Half-Life, or at least Black Mesa. So we came back much later, jetpacks strapped to our backs, to see what else this world had to offer. And technically you can fly to the other islands, but there's nothing of substance there. Instead of just having one big alternate dimension, there are about a dozen of them, and they all play out largely the same, meaning they are linear gauntlets you fight or stealth your way through and exit on the other end. They reset periodically, so you do have a reason to go back, mostly just to farm resources, but they'll be the same as before. So there's a wide range of settings from sci-fi through fantasy, all the way to creepypasta and SCP-inspired stuff, but none of them are given any significant depth. This left me feeling less invested in the setting as a whole. It took me a while to even realize that there were two separate human enemy factions. Right, so maybe I'm not very attentive, but it occurs to me that Half-Life never had to sit me down to explain that the soldiers and security guards are different groups. The reason I'm a little disappointed is that there is genuinely cool stuff here, and the variety of content can work wonders to throw you off guard. As you explore more of the game, enemy placements in the earlier areas will change, and the list of random events also gets longer. There is an enemy introduced in the labs that works completely different from the others and can attack you anywhere. Its introduction itself is one of the most memorable parts of the game for me, with a great setup and payoff, and it impacts the game from that point on. I was looking forward to more moments like that, but it never really happened. And not for a lack of effort on the developers' part either. The content is there, but the context in which they appear works against them. Towards the end, the game kind of turned into these long gauntlets with tons of the toughest enemies, and these potentially interesting environments just became levels to get through instead of being places to explore and engage with. Far be it from me to complain about too much content, but I think the pacing is a little off. I would have focused on and fleshed out some of the better antiverse settings in favor of having so many of them. And I know that's kind of cruel to say when clearly so much effort went into designing these environments. The Valheim approach of having lower fidelity models coupled with quality lighting effects works great with the Half-Life aesthetic. The game runs on Unreal Engine and they really put it to work to bring these places to life. I don't know what's up with the mirrors only reflecting backpacks, but the dynamic lighting adds so much to the atmosphere. This place can get proper spooky at night, so try to steal as many floodlights as you can. Look at how dim this area is. But turn on the lights and... Overall, I had an amazing time in the Gate Cascade facility. These survival games tend to get stuck in forever early access or release in a very unfinished form. But neither of these are true for Abiotic Factor. It's crazy just how far 150,000 Kiwi dollars will get you in life. If you're looking for a survival game to play with your friends, that's also fully complete with an actual ending, Abiotic Factor is a definite must. It also has a DLC lined up and I'm really curious to see just how much content they can cram into it. Oh yeah, by the way, DLCs. If you check the store page, you'll see that the game has 2 already. These are cosmetic only. They unlock outfits, decorations, and most importantly, an otherwise empty pocket antiverse. You get one of these antiverses in the base game too, although that one's pretty small. The purpose of these is to provide a safe and visually unique area for a base, and that's about it. Now, I don't have an issue with that, far from it, I'm just telling you so that you know what you're getting into. The upcoming DLC will add proper content and a whole new facility wing to explore. And I can't wait to see what they have in store. I, for one, would like to see the end of the tech tree expanded a little bit. In particular, I would appreciate more support items for combat, like deployable shields, combat stims, and more first aid items in general. Give our boys in white some love. Add in the TF2 healing ray. For a completely new mechanic, I would suggest hacking and/or robots. I mean, where's a computer scientist specialization? Major oversight. Pets have already been confirmed as one of the next major mechanics, so drones are only one step away from that. Come on, make it happen. This has been fun. If you liked what you've seen here, go and support the budding Kiwi games industry. As for me, I've got more content in the works too. So look forward to that. Well, see you on Monday. If you've made it this far in the video, well, first of all, thank you. I hope these videos are as fun to watch as they are to make, besides the whole scheduling voiceover sessions around the neighbors part. Any decade now, that apartment will be perfect. Oh, and a special thank you to those of you who've left comments on the previous videos or subscribed to the channel. You guys were surprisingly nice and it was heartwarming to see, so thank you, really.